Hey, hey, hey! Welcome to Star's Train of Thoughts. This podcast is dedicated to putting out content about empowerment, self discovery, and personal development. This platform, I'll also be sharing my stories and experiences with my faith, anxiety, personal struggles, and everything in between. So buckle up, get ready, because the next episode's coming up. So, welcome to another podcast episode. I've also been blogging, so I want to share with you a blog post that I made about hurt people. So, I just want to share my thoughts and insights regarding this topic. First things first, hurt people, offend people. Do you get it? So, why has this been the pattern of this world? Why do people think it's okay to hurt others just because they were also hurt? Why is there a need to offend people just because they have also been offended? So these are the heartless cycle of people hurting people and people offending people. So I actually have a heart for broken people, and it's because I experience it firsthand. We all have. We are human, we are all broken, and we all need help. The main reason why hurt people is because of the scars that they have and the hurt that they are constantly holding on to. Emotional scars are the most delicate because it's unpredictable on its own and they can easily be triggered or retrieved at any given time. So, whatever your trigger is, it is important that you know what triggers you. You know how it will affect you and you somehow get to control it and try to maneuver it when it happens unexpectedly, especially when you're not on your comfort zone or you're not comfortable with a situation that you're in when it happens. So it's very important that you do some reflections because you have to get to know yourself, to know what triggers you as to help start your healing process. So I do understand how people react to certain situations because of those triggers. It is very common that hurt or the offense is given intentionally because that person has received the same level of it. So I actually have a lot of friends or I see in most people that I know, they actually intentionally hurt people because they were hurt by that certain person. Somehow it could also be in a way that the person did not intentionally hurt you, but you in response will intentionally hurt back. So these are just the common things we humans are capable of doing. It's somehow reflected in how we are as a person and how we treat other people and how we respond to certain situations. You get to think about why these people are doing these things and how come they are doing these things. Are there some issues they haven't dealt with? Are they in a season where they just don't understand why this is happening to them or why they are in such a deep or in a hurtful situation or circumstance? So, whatever it is, some people would actually look for ways to defend themselves or to redeem themselves in a wrong way. So, that's not actually a good thing. It's actually like offering a place of resentment and getting it back again. So, wherever you are throwing pain or throwing hurt or trying to offend people because they've also done the same thing to you, you're both in a place of resentment and you're just going back and forth. You're in a cycle of resentment. And I don't think that's kind of a healthy relationship that you have with that person. It goes back to your ability to forgive and to level up that love that you have with that person. Because of that resentment cycle that's been going on, it's possible that it would end up both people resenting each other. And that's not a good kind of a relationship. I actually don't judge these people because I do understand that there is a place where the pain is coming from. This is why it has been considered that these people always inflict the same pain and hurt on others. I think it's a matter of not yet fully healing yourself or not going through the process of healing. That's why there's this pit, you have a pit in your life that you have to dig deep and you have to really help yourself to get over that pit. in order to move forward. Because if you're moving forward without having to deal that certain pit or that certain issue in your life, you're going to end up hurting people, or you're going to end up offending people, because I really do believe that all emotions that we have, they are indicators that there's something wrong, or you've been hurt, you've been offended. But you don't have to suppress those feelings. You don't have to cover it up, or you don't have to hide it, because these feelings are there, or these are the indications that you have to process them. You have to feel them, you have to take your time with them, because it's a way for us to get to our healing point. You get what I mean? So we cannot pick on the present pain that these people have, or that we have, unless they themselves won't try to mend the deep cause and try to fix their inner hatred. So that's what I say about having to go back to your certain issues way, way back before. Kasi it would eventually have something to do with your future self, with your future circumstances, or the way you deal with people. How you live your life. It somehow goes back to what you were before, or what happened to you before, or what instances have erupted in your life before. So unleashing anger in chaos and in the heat of the moment only causes more pain for ourselves in the end. Recently, I've been trying to process things. I've been trying to accept everything, whatever negative situation that I'm in, whatever negative circumstance that have happened to me. I always have to remind myself that there's a purpose, that this has to happen, that, these are part of life itself. We don't have this immunity with life's negativities or life's darkness, because everybody would experience pain and hurt. So it's a matter of how you are going to respond with these things. So I believe that whenever you are being exposed to a negative situation, it's about responding properly and not negatively reacting to it, because sometimes when we unleash anger in the heat of the moment, it would just cause future chaos. Get what I mean? So it says in First Peter chapter 3 verse 9, "Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing, because this you were called so that you may inherit a blessing." It's so wonderful to know that we have this choice to repay people who have hurt us with blessing and with love. It's not a really good idea to always repay evil with evil, because it's gonna end up hurting the both parties. So I do believe that it always starts with yourself. You have to constantly forgive yourself. You do not have to blame yourself with what happened, but you respond everything in love. So if you never heal from what hurt you, you'll bleed on people who didn't cut you. So hurt people are constantly seeking something, seeking answers from questions they can't even answer themselves, seeking to place blame on others on the pain that they have, and just seeking their value as a person. This kind of living could be very exhausting. If you're living this life full of questions, full of wonders, or if you're still on a point in your life where you don't know your purpose yet, you're not in a clear sight on where you are in life, this could be an endless cycle of questions. And I think this kind of life is unsatisfying, because you don't know who are you living for or what you are living for. But if you know your identity and you're secured of who you are as a person, it really would help to know where you would start, or to know where you are going, to know where your destination is. On the edge of emptiness, we just have to let go of seeking the answers and start living boldly with the questions. Sometimes we are constantly seeking for answers to our questions. We end up, regretting. We end up resenting ourselves. We end up depressed. But if we start to live, even if we have those questions, like we live boldly with those questions and just live our lives for the glory of God, we get to be satisfied somehow, because we are in a situation, or we are in a bubble in this life, that we know what we are fighting for, or we know who are we living for. Of course, if we are surrounded by a sea of hurt people, all we can do is to guide these people and help them realize the weight of the hurt they could be passing around. We don't have to respond and be angry with them that we get to blame them. You're like this, or you're acting this way because of the issues you have before, or because you're like this, you're like that. We don't have to respond through threatening, but we have to try to walk in their shoes and try to empathize with these people where they're coming from, and we have to take it slow and be gentle with them. There is this need for us to surrender those judgments because these people only need help. They don't need any more judgments because with themselves, they already have judged themselves enough. We, as the recipients of these people's offense or hurt, we just have to, again, yeah, respond in love. So these people actually have lived long enough with a small heart. So these hearts have no extra room for forgiveness or even growth. All we can do is to pray for them and always respond in love. We can never respond in hurt because then the cycle would not stop. We have to break the cycle one step at a time, to one person at a time. We can do a radical change or a drastic change with a large group of people, but we can help change the future or change the world by one person and by one step at a time. If we have been wronged and hurt by these hurt people, we should be the ones to forgive first and have compassion. We can lead them to prayer, we can walk with them through their journey through life because these people just want someone to understand them, to be accountable for them, and just to be a good friend because that's what the world needs right now. Someone that one person can trust, someone that we could share our lives to. So God purposely surfaces pain so that hurt people can face reality and have a better perspective on things. And, having to think on where they are in life. It takes faith to step back and remind ourselves that hurt people's actions are not about us, but they are all about their circumstances. We just need to extend our love and patience because they need it the most. They need forgiveness and be restored to their freedom. Sometimes, because of this chaos in this world, or because of all the noise in this world, some people just can't get out of that situation, or sometimes they can't even find themselves, because they're just so bombarded with all these ideas, all this information, everything that is happening in this world, this pandemic, anxieties are rising up. So a lot of concerns have been running through the people's mind that they forget to look deep into themselves and just, reflect. You know how God is a gracious God and He can turn all the hurt and pain in this world into something beautiful. That it is possible to get healed by placing your full trust and faith in God and releasing all your burdens to Him. It's not anymore our battle, but it's God's battle to win. All we have to do is surrender our life, surrender our worries. We cast everything to God's hands and just fully put our faith in Him. With these people, we just have to instill to them that they cannot fix themselves if they continue to hurt others. It's really this constant cycle where everybody is hurting and yet everybody still hurts everybody. So people in this world won't always have the same compassion and empathy as you. And you just have to make way with them because you know God has placed you there with a purpose. So the first thing we have to take into consideration is you have to look into the people around us. Like who are the people who needs help or who needs a friend today or who needs a pat on the back or who needs God's presence in their lives. We could take a look at each and everyone's life and try to instill hope in them, try to talk about God's goodness in your life to them. And it's just so amazing that God has taught us a lot of things, has given us a lot of experiences and opportunities that ended up to becoming our, what do you call this? Our testimony. It's a matter of knowing that God put you there to be the salt and light to the people around you. It makes you reach a point where you just let go of control because you know deep inside you that only God can change a person's heart. Only God can soften those hard hearts. So we just don't blame these people for having a hard heart because possibly it was God's own decision to make their hearts hard in the first place. But eventually, they have to really soften their heart. They have to put their full trust in God. And it's a matter of time that they would get their hearts softened and just embrace God's love. Yeah. Only God can replace all the pain and struggles in life with His peace and understanding. And because of that, we get to love, hurt people because God first loved us. One thing I can pass on to you is that you first look into your life and check for any undealt hurt, pain, and resentment and start your own journey with healing. Again, earlier I said we have to start with one person, one step at a time, but going back further, we have to start with ourselves. First, tayo muna before tayo makatulong sa iba. It always starts with ourselves. And whenever you're healed, try to reach out to those who are presently hurting because hurt people hurt people. But I agree by declaration that healed people heal people. So that's it. I hope you have learned something from this episode. This was just a quick talk about hurt people hurting people. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and click like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.